Fellow tennis nerds, I hope all is well. I got so many questions after my shorts video. With the Head Gravity Pro, so I wanted to do a first impressions review of the Head Gravity Pro 2025, the Oxetic 2.0. That's not at all the racket I'm holding in my hand because I don't have this racket yet, but I hope to get a demo of the new Head Gravity 2025 rackets very soon. This is the first edition of the Gravity Pro, which became an icon in a way. I mean, you have so many strong players using this on the Pro Tour. You have Rublev, you have Zverev, you have Safiullin, for example. However, Zverev is currently playing the Head Gravity Tour 100, according to himself in an interview with some German media. More about that on tennisnerd.net very soon, but that might change up things, because if you look at the current models displayed on Tennis Warehouse with the specs, there are a few things that are quite important here. The Gravity Tour is now a 98. We have reviewed that racket already in its first cosmetic, which is a teaser cosmetic. The racket will now look stellar, as you've seen on these images and in the video. The cosmetic, there's nothing really to complain about. Glossy, really nice design, just a thumbs up all across the board. Pretty much it looks like everyone loves it, so I think Head did a good thing there. Will it fit with the other very pastel color rackets in their other silos? Not really, but doesn't matter, I don't know. But this racket will appeal to many players visually for sure, and also because it is a low stiffness control racket. And one of the things they've really changed, besides adding Oxetic in more places, is to lower the stiffness. So that's something you will notice, and that's something I noticed straight away when hitting for an hour or two with the Head Gravity Pro when I went to Tennis Warehouse in San Luis Obispo. So from the first stroke, it was really noticeable that the Head Gravity Pro, which used to always be a very demanding racket, most rackets measured up above 330 swing weight. This one, they've moved the balance a little bit to make it more head light, meaning more weight in towards the handle, which I think makes it more maneuverable. And it's also not as high in swing weight on average, so just below 330. Still, you need some swing weight on a racket like this to have any power, because it is low powered in terms of like very low stiffness rating. Obviously with stiffness you cannot look at RA only, depends on where it flexes and stuff like that, so it's the RA rating can be just a little bit exaggerated in its importance, but it's still something to look at. And this is the lowest rating we've seen of the Gravity through the generations on the Gravity Pro. So definitely softer in feel. I really noticed that. I felt like this was the best feeling frame, and I'm not always a huge fan of more and more Oxetic because I think the rackets become too dampened. But with the Gravity Pro being a control frame, 1820, very thin beam, 20 millimeters, I felt like this actually was a good change and made it more of a player's frame, made it more kind of this traditional meets a bit of modern, with its head shape being quite open wide and more forgiving with the extra sweet spot. That used to be the big slogan, like massive sweet spot dominates the game, when they launched the Gravity a bunch of years back with the launch color, which is what I'm holding. But this one looks better. I think it plays a bit better. I think it will have a wider appeal. The softer feel I really enjoyed. I also felt like the Oxetic in this case, being more of it, worked in its favor. For some models I don't really feel the ball 100%. This one I felt very connected, maybe thanks to it being a more controlled oriented frame from the beginning, with its thinner beam and the tight string pattern. So it's not a racket that's going to give you lots of power, lots of spin. This is for players who can generate their own pace and their own top spin, because you're not getting anything for free from the frame. However, you're getting a bit more than you're getting from a Prestige. So this is what I would say the modern Prestige. This is what kind of also Head, I think, in their heads have as the idea, right? Like it started with the Prestige Classic. It went to the Head Pro Tour 630, the PT57A if you talk pro stock lingo, and the modern control frame is the Head Gravity Pro. And I think that's the most important model in the lineup. They have reduced stiffness also on the other rackets, like the Gravity MP and the Gravity Tour 98. Maybe in some markets we will see a Gravity Tour 100 for Sasha Zverev, maybe if he does a permanent switch. Seems likely. Maybe they should rename it or do something, just have a 100 square inch Gravity Tour would be good. but the Gravity Tour 98 will surely have a large audience because it stands out a little bit compared to the other Gravities with its 98 square inch head size. I will also revisit this one as soon as I get it in its release cosmetic. So there will be more to come about the new Gravities, but lower stiffness, softer feel, the Gravity Pro being more maneuverable than it was before. All, I would say, good changes for this lineup. This is a line for control players. This is not for you who want extra power, but there's something about the Gravity Pro, especially when it comes to serving. I really felt like always the serve was one of the best things with the Gravity Pro. I will need more time to give my full opinion, but it's a positive first impression. Really think they went the right way with the cosmetic, with the lower stiffness, with the slightly more headlight balance and a tad lower swing weight. I think this is all the correct thinking. Obviously, with some quality control issues, you might still get a 335 swing weight Strong Gravity Pro. So that's always a little bit of an issue, but on average, this should happen less often than it did in the past. The one I tested, it was around the listed specs, and it had the Lynx Tour at around 23 kilos, 51 pounds, I think it was strung. And I thought that was just a perfect blend. Really worked well with the racket, gave it a little bit of lift thanks to the Lynx Tour. So that setup is something I could have played with. Let me know which Gravity you're most curious about. Have a nice day now, and don't forget to play some tennis.